T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Fellas, happy belated 4th of July to all. So that reminds me of a question for you. Do they have a 4th of July in Canada?
I don't think so.
They sure do. It comes right after the 3rd of July.
I see what you are talking about, Mr. Literal.
How did you miss that? Woo! All right, we're on a roll now. So we're 2 months out from the start of the NFL season, and we will, on this episode, profile the AFC South. We'll see how that goes. But first, ESPN lowers the boom. Not boomer, but the boom. Lugs, let's turn to you. That was what we call a massacre at ESPN, the worldwide leader. What do you think?
Well, it shows you the state of media at this point and how ESPN is not very profitable, I would say. Of course, Disney, across all of its platforms, is laying off 7,000, but they got, I think, 20 or so commentators. I guess the highest profile would have been Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose from the basketball side, and Susie Colbert from NFL. She was sideline reporter and pregame host. It's not surprising to me. I think they're going to be renegotiating a lot of stuff, and you're going to see some new faces at much cheaper prices. So I'd have to say overall, sorry to hear anybody lose their job. But it's not surprising in today's atmosphere when there's so many choices and so many ways to get your sports information.
Yep.
What do you think, Dog?
Yeah, what do you think?
Off the top, I'd say I'm kind of bummed about all these losses for the most part. I enjoyed what they added to the production in the broadcast. I do think Jeff Van Gundy is the biggest loss because I know we talk about commentators a decent amount, and he's not only insightful, but he actually has a sense of humor. So it does add a lot to the telecast. And he just completed his 17th NBA Finals. I don't think we have to worry for him because I think he'll find a job with TNT, wouldn't you all say? Or
yeah. You'll see those guys again.
And there's, the big thing is the contract for the NBA is up after the 24-25 season. So, Amazon might try to get involved. NBC might try to get a piece of it. He'll find a job somewhere. If it's not this upcoming season and the years, if he doesn't want to go into coaching, I don't know. I would assume not after 17 years off, but Jalen Rose, just for all the hats he wore. I mean, he did a podcast with Dave Jacoby, who's now, I believe, back with Bill Simmons at The Ringer. But, I mean, they just had a kind of topical show where they did talk about basketball, college and pro, but also, like, what's a place they like to eat? Or, like, what would happen if this situation happened in your life? What would you do? But I think, and he had some the great 30 for 30 on University of Michigan basketball Fab Five, and Susie Colbert, like you said, like she did a lot of great commentating, but also I believe she was, the main broadcast for NBA Live or NFL Live a lot of times. So I don't know. It's Steve Young. Look. I'm happy the man made a pitch. I don't know how much Steve Young added. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not happy the guy lost his job. I don't know how much he really added to his. I got tired of hearing him talk about the artistry of quarterback. I will say that.
And Lugs, to take a page out of your book, he can quit dyeing his hair now. Steve had a bad dye job. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so it sounded like what Lug said is just like how much they're losing money, and I just want to tap into that. The media leader reported that estimated that like Disney Plus, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and HBO Max lost over $18 billion combined from 2020 to 22. So, I mean, that's the thing is they have to invest in streaming because down the road, obviously, it's finally seems to have become profitable for Netflix, at least I think. But right now, it's a money pit if you think about it. They're just losing money on it, and I think Lugs kind of hinted at it with all these licensing fees because live broadcast is all that matters. They're gonna have to, keep increasing the budget for licensing fees, so that's gonna have to decrease the money somewhere, and that's how much they're paying talent. And with the Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, and Mike Greenberg, it feels like they're only going to funnel high money in those three, and then it's just going to be a bunch of new people or people that aren't getting paid a lot.
You know, going to Van Gundy, your comments on him. First of all, he can't go back to coaching. He could never beat the Bulls, man, as the Knicks head coach, so he won't do that. He's still shocked by that. Yeah, in the year when they hired McAfee for $85 million, and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman was only, about 16 months ago, maybe. And those guys, what do we figure they're bringing in together? 30 million for the two of them probably per year?
Yeah.
Where did they say McAfee was $85 million?
$85 million, baby. The long-term deal is $85 million.
I will say this. Oh, you go, Lugs.
I was just going to say, I didn't see what the length of that deal was. Is it like 4 or 5 years, 10 years?
It's a long one, but either way, they're throwing money at some people, like you said, T-Dog, and others are like, sorry.
And that's the thing. I just think they're going to sprinkle those guys. And not that they don't already do this anyway. All those guys are going to be from morning to midday, but they'll be sprinkled out through like the evening sports center. They'll have, they'll have to like lie in a bed and wake up and do like a post reaction to the game ending at 11 o'clock. So they have like a fresh take after the game, and then they have to go back to bed and wake up and do a show from, like 7 to 10, and have reaction of just something they reacted to literally less than 12 hours ago.
So it'd be like those old NYPD Blue episodes, Lugs, where Medavoy would bivouac in the squad room at night to get up for the next shift. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Medavoy? Yeah.
But, I mean, they've been doing that all along. I mean, Jalen Rose, I saw him on like 6 different shows one day, just inadvertently. And they do radio as well as podcast. It's a pretty heavy load they carry. Not that I'm going to cry too much for them.
No.
And Stephen A. Smith, I'm sorry. He is second only to Gordon Ramsay as far as I'm concerned as being unwatchable. Anytime his decibel level is always at 11. It's like, dude, do a little fluctuation so I know what's important to you. I guess every breath he takes is important. All
right, Lugs, how do you feel about Stephen A? You feel okay about him?
I just tune out. Honest to God, as soon as he hits the screen, I'm out. I will stay for Barkley because Barkley always has some craziness. He can be talking about basketball, and then all of a sudden you're talking about the best cheeseburger in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So anyway, that would be my only comment. Stephen A., I like Greeny. Greeny is like succinct. Stephen A., not so much.
Well, too, the comment I want to make is about the swift decline of the ESPN morning drive radio show. So they blew up the whole team, right? Max Kellerman, Keyshawn Johnson, I guess. Jay Will still around.
Williams. Yeah.
But think when it was Mike and Mike, that thing was unstoppable, man, for a decade or more. And was really like even, it broke the third screen. It was on social media. They were so popular. And now, what are they going to do there? I guess but that also tells you a lot about terrestrial radio. I mean, regular, traditional AM, FM radio.
Well, to be fair to your point, if you go back to that time, you not only had Mike and Mike, you had Colin Cowherd with the Herd. You had Dan Lebitard.
True.
You had, like
Even Tony Kornheiser for a while, right?
you had Tony like you had clearly had really developed an idea on like how to do your national radio broadcast, and there clearly was a vision behind it. And that's the thing is the person currently heading ESPN, they're essentially a Disney person. They don't really have a journalism background. They are just mainly grabbing at stars. And when you grab at stars like a McAfee, who, again, when you said 85, I'm not saying you're not right, but I heard that the DraftKings that he got out of, that thing was a $120 million deal. I don't know how many years. So still, like, the ESPN might be more for a shorter amount of time, but they had to probably buy out that deal from DraftKings. So
Could be.
But I'm just saying, when you buy stars at the top, instead of being like Mike and Mike, they developed Mike and Mike. They took, I believe Colin Cowherd was out of Portland, a regional guy, and they developed him into a national. And, Lebitard was already kind of known a little bit from being a columnist, and he started up his radio. But, like, they helped develop him into a prominent kind of personality to some degree, right? They don't do that anymore. They just look to grab people that are kind of fully formed. You saw it with Wojciechowski. Wojciechowski was with Yahoo. He wasn't a guy developed by him, and they just got tired of him ruining the NBA draft because he was like popping up pics on Twitter. So they essentially hired him not to ruin the NBA draft since they do the telecast for it.
McAfee just confirmed by our interns. I just got a message in my ear. 85 mil, 5 years. 85 million, 5 years. What about the most important people they lost? I think McShay was really good, and it was expected he would take over for Mel Kiper when he retired. And we now know that the draft is a NFL-produced billion-dollar event that's become more important than ever. You going to miss him, or you think he'll just float over to Fox and it'd be all good?
Do you want to go first, Lugs?
Well, I don't know how they're going to replace all these folks with people that I care about at this point. But, I only had one other sort of comment about this. You knew it was over with for ESPN when they got rid of all that old guard originally and brought in these kids like the woman whose name I don't remember and her sidekick, and it just tanked. It tanked, and it hacked off ESPN viewers. I think ESPN will be down to running volleyball from Lehigh High School in the next couple of years. Anything that you can shoot to them to get it on to just fill 24 hours, they will run. That's the way they started out. You could shoot a volleyball match on videotape and email it to them, or mail it to them, and they would run it. So that's my final comment on that.
That woman and her sidekick, that throws me off. But also, you're right, 1979, wasn't it? Aussie Rules Football and University of Connecticut Sports or something like that was the start of the worldwide leader. Go ahead, T-Dog. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to the draft, and I'll do my wrap-up point, I guess, is with the draft, they have in-house already, they had a third guy that they hired away from Bleacher Report, Matt Miller. He's been there, I believe, 2 years, and he was on the telecast this last draft. I do know that. So they did have someone already kind of in the wings. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say he's gonna get paid as much. So it's not that I don't feel bad for Tom McShay, but Andy Staples just went to a new digital format where he left the Athletic. Tom McShay and the place he went, their background is mainly going to be scouting. I would think they maybe try to grab a Todd McShay because I believe he was one of the top dogs at Scouts Inc. Before he left for ESPN. So I think he'll find a job. There's so much interest in scouting in general from college and pro that he'll find a job somewhere. To be fair to what you're saying, the only kind of like made stars that they have left now are Mike Greenberg, I would say Mina Kimes, and I'm trying to even think of someone else that they didn't just snatch away from somebody. It's just really kind of depressing. The only thing I do like that Lugs brings up is I would be happy to see monster truck rallies again on ESPN.
Yeah,
So
man.
that's maybe one pro from what I'm getting from Lugs. So I'm for that.
I'm with you. A little Aussie rules football. I'd be all up in that too. That's a great game.
Yeah.
Don't show me the lacrosse though. And Lehigh High School, no, we're not watching that, Lugs. We're not watching that crap.
Lehigh High School wrestling, man. It demands that you watch it. Come on.
Which Lehigh is this? Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just checking.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move right along now. I think we burnt that bridge. We're just 2 months out from the start of the NFL season for 2023, and on this episode, we profile the AFC South. Lugs, where do you want to start? T-Dog.
Well, I'll start with your number 4, or what I'm
Number
picking as
4.
your
That's what I
number
thought.
4 team.
You go.
I'm picking the Houston Texans. They made some interesting trades, and they got C.J. Stroud. Then they've got D'Amico Ryans is their new coach, and they've got some players, but I don't hold out much hope for them. Although last year they were 3-13-1, they're going to win 6 games. They're going to double their number of games. I'm going 6-11 for the boys because they play other AFC South teams. I mean, it's like a drunk fest at that point with these guys. They're just kind of wobbling all over the field, basically. So anyway, that's my call for number 4 in that division.
T-Dog.
Bottom rung of this division, I'm staying in Tejas with Lugs. Houston Texans. I like D'Amico Ryans, but I think with him they'll play tough. But I just think they're undermanned. They're inexperienced, and if you really look at their roster, they just lack blue chip players. C.J. Stroud, I still believe will have maybe I feel the most confident that he'll have the best career out of these rookie quarterbacks from here to the end. I think with him, he'll add a few wins to, like what Lug said, from what they had last year. And I do think that there are good foundational pieces in their secondary, in Derek Stingley, their corner, and Jalen Petrie, their safety. And even on defense, their front 7 has promise with Anderson, who they drafted 3rd overall. But it's probably still in the lower half of the league in general. Their strength is their offensive line. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil is the highest paid offensive lineman, and he deserves it because of his pass blocking. Tyus Howard, the right tackle, has lived up to his first-round pedigree, and they acquired a free agent Shaq Mason, who gives them an experienced guard to help kind of solidify the interior of that offensive line. But they're wide receivers. I mean, they brought in free agent Robert Woods, who came from the Titans, is 1 year removed from his ACL, but he's never been a great athlete, and he's in his 30s. I still believe Nico Collins has a chance to be a talent at receiver, but he's entering year 3 and hasn't shown it. And, I'm rooting for this guy because he's coming back from leukemia. But John Mechie, he's just looking to regain his Alabama form this year. I don't expect him to explode this year. You just want him to be solid this year. I have him going 5-12, 1 game less than the Lugs.
5-12 for the Texans. Okay, we're all going to agree on this one. T-Dog, I don't care if they brought in Shaq Mason or Shaq O'Neal. It ain't happening over there. And I think C.J. Stroud will need a couple years, just like Trevor Lawrence did, to even be, show some promise. And D'Amico Ryans, first-time head coach, let him cut his teeth. I know he brought in some quality assistants, but I'm with you guys, and I'm agreeing with T-Dog on the 5-12. So the Texans round out your bottom of the AFC South. Lugs, who do you like at number 3 in the division? Number 3.
Well, I'm going to go with your Colts. Again, I got to give it to them. They finally gave up trying to resurrect bones out of a closet at quarterback. So they finally just went for it with Anthony Richardson. So I hope everything goes well for him. But they lost one of my favorites. It's either Okereke or Okereke, whatever. I just love that name. Anyway, they've got Jonathan Taylor, and they've got Shaquille Leonard. And for me, they got the stash. They got the Fu Manchu. They got Minshew. So I would assume that Minshew would start and Richardson would come in, but I could be definitely wrong about that. The Colts last year, 4-12-1. This year, I'm going to say they'll do a little better. They'll go 7-10. I think they'll do 7-10.
7-10.
They'll finish just slightly ahead of the Texans.
All right, T-Dog, how do you read pole position 3 in the AFC South?
That's right. In a show, I also
Right.
have the Indianapolis Colts. I love the hiring of Coach Shane Steichen. What he showed with the Eagles is he really knows how to develop the offense around what the quarterback can do. And even going back to when he was with San Diego and he ran the offense, obviously the offense he tailored for Herbert was different than Jalen Hurts. And that's why I'm not as bullish on him as CJ Stroud, because obviously he was so raw in college and it's hard to feel as confident in Anthony Richardson as CJ Stroud, I think. But I'm confident that Steichen will figure out what Richardson can do, and at least his first 3 years will build the offense around that. And then you add Jonathan Taylor to it, with both those guys being 4-4 level athletes. They're going to run the hell out of the ball. I feel confident in that. They're going to be in a lot of games. I feel that way. I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games, but I just think with how Shane Steichen will coach them on offense, I think they still have some pretty good pieces in the front seven. The big if, probably the biggest if in this division, because he was so special his first 2 years and has just battled injuries. If Shaquille Leonard, the linebacker, can return from his back issues, this team could go possibly 500 this year. I really like the receiver room, even though none of them have really broken out. I mean, Pittman gives you a chain mover. Pierce is your big vertical threat. They added Isaiah McKenzie from Buffalo, gives you a quick slot guy. And then UNC's own rookie, Josh Downs, gives you a deep speed option. Their strength is the defensive line. DeForest Buckner has been the best player on the Colts the last 3 years. He's had 24 and a half sacks, 31 TFLs over that time. Grover Stewart helps clog the running lanes. Here's a fun name for you, Lugs. Kwity Paye took a big leap in year 2.
Kwity.
And here's another fun name for you. Their free agent acquisition, one of their best ones, Samson Ububakam, is a solid all-around edge where he can give you pressure and he can seal the edge to prevent big runs. But, man, this is why I can't have them higher than third. Their secondary, we want to talk about being snake bit. They're entering after the draft. They did not have a great secondary. But possible starting corner Isaiah Rodgers was released after a year suspension for getting caught gambling. And besides Kenny Moore, their nickel, who's great, this secondary is essentially filled with rookies and guys who are just super green. I have them going 7-11 or 7-10, just like Lugs.
7-10 for the Colts. Okay. In the words of Johnny Carson, you are wrong, my whatever he used to say to Ed. Well, I have, gentlemen, the Titans. The Titans is your third-place team, and here's why. Over-under on these clowns this year is 7.5. And I think the big thing with the Titans is a big question mark. You got an embattled coach, who's been getting a lot of heat. You got a quarterback question. Don't know what's going on with Will Levis. I think we all agree he's probably not the answer, but he may be long-term as a project. How much time do they have to do that? Unknown. Derrick Henry, question mark. I just think they've kind of gone to the apex of their recent run 2 years ago, and now I think they're on the downward slide. So I'm picking your Tennessee Titans as a 7-10 team. And I'll leave it at that. So we'll see what happens. 7-10 Titans in your number 3 slot. So now we move on to Lugs. Number 2 in the pole position of the AFC South.
I'm going with the Titans in the second place there. You can count on Tannehill to at least be an adult in the room. Levis, I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm and a banana for a brain at this point. I mean, the guy is, he needs a lot of seasoning, maybe some salt, pepper, and maybe even some of that stuff that they give you if you're on a salt-free diet. But anyway, I just don't think that Derrick Henry's, both he and Tannehill are coming up on the final years of their contracts, so that's going to be interesting. They'll both play hard. They're not the defensive team that they once were, although it's one of those things where that they're good, but they're not quite good enough. So I'm giving it. They're going to go less than 500. I'm going 8-9.
Oh, here he comes, old Banana Brain. Here's Will Levis. I'm Banana Brain. Hello, I'm Banana Brain. How are you?
I like how he talks like Bullwinkle.
That or Barney. Hello. What's a banana for a brain, man? What does that even mean? Mush?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little thing that you put in a split or something. I don't know. Go ahead, T-Dog.
He talks like Barney.
With the silver, I have the Tennessee Titans as well. But I will say this: I understand J-Boy's feeling why they'd be third, because my main takeaway from this team is they got mixed messages in what they're doing. It was like a non-rebuild for the Titans. They drafted Will Levis, but they kept Tannehill. They supposedly shopped Henry, but now he's returning. He's going to be a focal point of this offense. Their wide receivers were one of the weakest parts of their team, and they had free agency and the draft, and they essentially did not address it. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but it mainly comes down to Mike Vrabel has shown enough in each season. I trust him as a coach to have this team elevate above what expectations are. I believe Jay Bowie said they had 7 wins. Their strength is that defensive line. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best interior pass rushers in the league, up there with the Chris Joneses and the Aaron Donalds. Danico Autry, the defensive end, had his best year until he got injured late in the season. And Tatir Tart seals lanes and adds pressure. But again, their wide receiver core. And look, when he was healthy, Traylon Burks, their first-round pick who replaced A.J. Brown, he flashed. So maybe they have seen that, like, he's in shape. The light's gone on. That's great. But outside of him, it's like Chris Moore is a solid hand. And Westbrook Akina, I mean, it pains me to say this because he's just a guy. I mean, so I have them going 8-9.
8-9 on your Titans in the number 2 slot. But see, fellas, here you go. Both you guys have the Titans and Colts like 1 win off each other, so that's why I'm playing that it's going to flip around and they'll have 1 more win than the other. And it'll be tight, but I think that it's a good chance. So that's why I have the Colts in there at number 2. And here's why at 8-9. Anthony Richardson, we've all talked about him. I think we like him as one of the best of the crop this past draft, and we even may have said he might be Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'll throw that out there. I like Jonathan Taylor, and I like Jonathan Taylor Thomas from that old TV show too, but that's for another episode. And I think the new head coach, I don't know, he's a little bit of a stiff dude, but I like him. Steichen, I think he's got a chance. I think they're up to some good things there. I think they're on an upward trajectory as opposed to the Titans are going the wrong direction. As far as having an adult in the room, Lugs, I think let the kids play and let Richardson have the ball, toss it, do a little run-pass option with Taylor. That could be a good team. It could be an exciting team to watch, and I think they eke it out, and they get 1 more win than the Titans, and they go 8-9. That's that. Okay, number one on the runway, lugs for the AFC South. Who do you like? Let me guess.
Well, no surprise, really. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
I think Doug Peterson now has full command of that team. They've lost some folks, mostly on defense, I suppose, but they've also, at this point, Trevor Lawrence is a top-flight quarterback who just needs a couple of receivers, maybe a running back, to really show something. In this division, they're the cream of the crop, and they will take the top spot. Now, as far as going past maybe the first round in the playoffs, we'll have to see. But I'm giving them standby kids. Now, last year they were 9-8. This year I'm saying they're going to be 11-6.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Take
that.
T-Dog.
Well, they've got some serious, some serious competition other than the Saints and the Buccaneers and the Colts and Titans, of course. I got to stand by the boys. Trevor, give me that shampoo commercial and let's rock and roll, baby.
I definitely agree with you on Trevor Lawrence. He showed last year, talent-wise, he can be a top-5 quarterback. And I think with better talent now around him and experience, I think he's going to solidify that spot this year. Their strength is their wide receivers. In November of last year, it's crazy to go back to November, but the Jags traded for suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley, who couldn't play any of the 2022-23 season. But in this season coming up, his suspension's over and he will play. And just you look at his speed and his change of direction, it gives him a true number one wide receiver. Now, that's not to take away from Christian Kirk, their 2022 free agent, who got paid a ridiculous contract for a guy who's just a slot receiver and probably still is just a slot receiver. But to be fair to him, he gave an offense that was awful 2 years ago, a reliable target. He gave him 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. So even if the contract still feels a little heavy, he at least came close to matching it. Zay Jones is a big body chain mover, and now he's slotted in to be the third receiver, and he's overqualified for it. So that's great for that team overall. I just look at their offensive line, though. They lost Juwan Taylor to the Chiefs in free agency, and their left tackle, Cam Thomas, is suspended for the first 4 games. So that means rookie Antoine Harrison is projected to start out on the right side. And then a relatively inexperienced tackle, Walker Little, is projected to start on the left for the first month. And their 2002 free agent, Brandon Sheriff, who they paid big money to coming from Washington, he was injured and banged up for most of last year. I just think this inconsistent line is going to cost them 2 to 3 games. And I just feel the offensive line in general, mixed in with when you kind of look at the roster in terms of their front seven, that defense is going to cost them some games against the top teams like the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals of the league. I have them going 10-7.
10-7. Fellas, we need a wake-up call. Do you realize we're all picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to win a division? Did we get some good CBD or what? What the? I mean, come on. Hold on a minute. I agree with you completely. I mean, they're the best of the worst, I guess, in the division. But let's go easy, big shooters, on crowning Trevor Lawrence, the MVP of the league. But I agree with you for all the reasons you said, and the biggest one is Doug Peterson. I think he's super. Obviously he's a versatile coach, been around. Can't believe he didn't get snatched up after he got let go in Philly right away to be a head coach. He's amazing. This guy's the future. He can build a team. I just think they're not that great of a team. They'll make the playoffs. Over-under on them looks to be about 9.5 wins. I'm saying 10-7 as well. I don't see them going very deep, but I think they're a fun team to watch. But I think it'll be a nice, tight division with those top 3 teams. The Jacksonville, the Colts, and the Titans, and like 1 or 2 wins separating all 3. And I think they could have some good interdivisional rivalries and games this year that could be kind of fun to watch. So I think we all agree with that. 10-7, 10-7. Lugs puts him at 11-6. He puts him up there in the higher echelon. But there you go, the AFC South. Anything else on that?
I guess wrapping up the predictions for 2023, I just want to kind of agree with J-Boy, even though I'm still sticking with Titans at 2. I will say with the way that the Colts are constructed and just their roster overall in general, I feel more confident that there is a potential for the Colts to win maybe 10 games this year. I mean, it'll be crazy as hell, but I think that's a real possibility. I don't see any scenario where the Titans win more than 9 games.
Rock on. I can't believe we all picked the Jaguars. Rewind the tape to about 2 years ago. We thought they were moving to London. Come on, let's go. Remember?
They're still moving to London.
London's home team. Woo!
Well, I mean, every year they have at least one, sometimes 2 games in London. I mean, yeah.
That turquoise is real popular over there. But it clashes with Charles's hairpiece, doesn't it, Lugs? That turquoise of the Jacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that? I think we need to move on. Lugs, you want to do a little sports of yesteryear, or T-Dog? Anything else on that?
No, I'll do it after the sports of yesteryear.
You ready for that, Lugs?
I am.
Here we go, big open. This is our big. Wow, we got the big open back here. We're doing sports of yesteryear. He's out and about in his Chevy Nova. Here's Lugs. Go ahead.
1898, Lizzie Arlington becomes the first woman to play professional men's baseball when she pitches the 9th inning for the Reading Coal Heavers against the Allentown Peanuts. Whoever chose that, that mascot, I don't know. Anyway, Lizzie allowed 2 hits and walked a batter, but preserved the 5-0 win. 1934, the Iron Man, Lou Gehrig, hits his record 17th Grand Slam. As the Yankees win over Washington 8-3, Gehrig surpasses Babe Ruth's total. 1958, Wimbledon, women's tennis. American Althea Gibson beats Angela Mortimer of England 8-6, 6-2 to successfully defend her title. 1980, staying at Wimbledon. Men's tennis, Bjorn Borg beats John McEnroe for his 5th straight Wimbledon crown with a famous 22-minute, 34-point 4th set tie break. Amazingly.
You can't be serious. You can't be serious.
I know.
Yeah, McEnroe.
And finally, giving a little love to sulky aficionados. 2012, harness racing trainer-driver Dave Pallone sets a new world record for wins when he drives Hercules Hanover to the winner's circle for his 15,181st career win. That's it for sports of yesteryear.
Thank you, Lugs, for that intriguing report about the Coal Heavers. The Coal Heavers. Can you picture a mascot? What's that look like? Guy with a helmet?
Black lung? I don't know.
It's a black lung with a shovel. Okay, have you guys ever seen harness racing?
No,
Yes.
I have not.
I have ridden in the car, believe it or not. I was lucky enough to shoot a story with a horse that was, big time out when we had sulky racing here.
I love the way they start with that big convertible with the gates on it. It's a rolling start. Don't you love that? That was always cool. It's like a big truck with gates that swung.
Well, now I was in what had been made into a pickup from a Eldorado Cadillac.
You were in the higher rent district than the one I saw, I think.
And sadly, on a sad note here,
Yeah.
the horse I shot the story with was killed the night that the story was going to run. Anyway, broke his leg.
Yep. There
That's
you go.
one of those things. But we ran the story anyway because we're cold bastards,
Yep. Yep. Harness racing. Yes, harness racing. That's a different kind of sport with it. Yeah. All right, Tito.
Yeah, well, whoever starts on the inside is going to win the race. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, maybe so. But I happened to see some at the DuQuoin, Illinois State Fair. The Hambletonian. The Hambletonian used to be there. That was like the $1 million, well, probably like $200,000 race then. Now it's like, I don't even know if it's even run anymore, but it was a big deal. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to tie in a few of the things we've talked about yesteryear
Loose ends.
and the AFC South.
Yeah.
Going back
Oh,
to our
geez.
2022 predictions. Hey, if we're going to, again, going back to last week, if we're going to pat ourselves on the back for being so accurate on AFC East, guess what? This is the time where we all eat it with the AFC South.
I was going to edit this
predictions last
part
year.
out of the show. Do
Oh,
I still have
okay.
time? Go ahead.
Lugs had the Titans winning division. I predicted the Colts. Jags won it. We thought that Matt Ryan was a good trade for the Colts. He ended up playing 12 games, was 4-7-1, threw 14 touchdowns, 13 INTs, and was sacked 38 times. We said that Lawrence was going to be the best quarterback in the division. He ended up throwing for over 4,000 yards, ran for 291 yards, ended up scoring 30 touchdowns. Lugs predicted the Colts would tie a game. They did it week 1. So, props to Lugs on that. I predicted the Texans would draft C.J. Stroud, which I don't know how that happened. I don't know why I said that, but it ended up happening. But I think the most important one is Lugs started off our preview saying this is a division of also-rans. Last year, that was definitely true. So he nailed that one. I think that was the most important one. In terms of overall records, we had them, Titans going 10-7, both. They went 7-10. Lugs had the Colts going 9-7-1. I had them going 11-6. They went 4-12-1. Lugs had the Jags going 7-10. Mine was 2-15. 2-15. They went 9-8. They won the division. Lugs had them going. Texans going 5-12. I gave them the goose egg, and they ended up going 3-13-1 and having the second overall pick. So, not a lot of great hits. I think Lugs was the most accurate. He definitely had the crystal ball going the best, but no one should be too happy about looking back.
Yeah, but it keeps you coming back, right? That's why you make those predictions, and it's like golf. I have a bad shot, come back,
Yeah.
I might have a good one.
So is there any things, I guess, kind of wrapping up on maybe what we could have learned from last year that maybe not saying changes what our predictions for 2023, but I don't know, makes you feel better about your predictions for 2023, add some trepidation?
Well, I think that one prediction Lugs made, Andrew Luck will be lost at sea. That obviously didn't happen, and I don't expect that to happen this year. So I'll put money on that.
Okay.
Now, I'd say, everybody, you're right. We're putting money on Matt Ryan, right?
Yeah, we were all off.
So don't do that again.
Well, luckily he's in a booth now, right?
He is.
He's calling game. Or
Yeah.
is he doing pregame? Is he doing pregame?
He got a gig. I can't remember where.
It was CBS.
We'll get the crack team on it. Right. He's going to
Yeah.
replace Boomer and when he steps out, maybe.
Yeah, a big loss. A great transition.
Sims.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Coach Cowherd, who talks over here, his head's right here, but his voice comes from over here. It's like
looking at-
Hackett of football.
It's like looking at a horse, isn't it, Coach Cowher? A little bit,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know what I learned. Did I learn anything? Lugs, you learn anything about that?
What I learned today, let's see. Not to wear tight pants, I don't know. It's been an interesting, what I was going to say about football, what you're seeing is teams that have yet to adjust to the way the game is being played now, with the receivers having free reign, essentially. So everybody will catch up, because all those teams, even the ones with bad records, they have smart people, they have coaches. So you're going to see people catch up. I think this year will be a little better, a little more evened out except for the Arizona Cardinals, and they're going to tank. And then they'll draft Caleb Williams and get rid of short stuff.
You know, I thought we were going to go without a show of one streak of one, where you wouldn't mention the shortness of the Cardinals quarterback. But we didn't make that streak. We keep it intact.
You know, always things to, look forward to next week is maybe one way to look at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It says
well,
Matt
I'll give him this. He throws a pretty ball. He throws a pretty ball when he can run outside and take a big old loop at it.
Get his cleat caught in that turf. CBS Sports announced that Ryan will be an analyst for select NFL on CBS games. So I don't know if he's in studio, out in the booth.
It sounds like he'll be a
Mated
color
with somebody.
commentator. Yeah, he'll be a color commentator. He could be okay. I mean, I don't think he'll be great, but who knows?
With
You never know.
Iron Eagle, maybe?
No, Iron Eagle. Didn't we say Iron Eagle's like the head guy for college basketball?
He is.
So, like, I doubt they're going to put Matt Ryan
He's
with
got
Iron Eagle.
Charles Davis, doesn't he? Iron Eagle.
Yeah, so you don't break those guys up. Keep those guys together. I mean, I guess my main thing from the AFC South that is I think the two teams that are the most exciting are the Jaguars and the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll definitely be watching those.
Agreed.
And I even think the Texans have some juice with Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. I know I'm probably too big on the C.J. Stroud train. Like I said, I like the coaching of the Titans. I just don't know what the Titans are doing. Like, at least kind of going back to the Cardinals, like what Lugs was saying. Look, they know their intention was made at the draft. They want to be bad this year to get draft. Titans, I don't know what they're doing. I think they're one of the most confounding teams probably that we're going to talk about in terms of, I don't know if they're rebuilding, if they're trying to stink this year. I don't know.
I expect a coaching change after this year, don't you guys? If it doesn't go well.
Oh, with the Titans?
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah, you might. I don't know. You might be right.
I mean, if they really tank, yes, but I mean, I don't think so. I would say 60-40 on that.
60-40.
I always go with Lugs on this. It'd have to go really bad. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because bizarre things happen, but I think his record's been too good. And essentially, when they ousted their GM last year, I think it felt like it was a power grab by Vrabel. So I think he's pretty well positioned in the Titans organization.
Well, good
right
luck to
now.
Vrabel. My biggest wish in the division is that the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know how many home games they have this year, 8 or 9, whatever it is. I hope they sell out all their games and remove the question about should there be a team there, and just let that be successful for everybody. I think that'd be a win-win for Florida, for Jacks, and for the team, because that's a pretty small market, as we know. So
Yeah.
that's my hope. All right, that's about it today, I think, isn't it? We'll bring this show to a close. Sports and other stuff. Brought to you in part by Rose Auto Sales. They're on Highway 51 North. If their sticker's not on the back of your car, you're probably paid too much. Stop in and ask for Norm and get this week's special. Wait, he's not there. There's another guy there. His name is
Fish. And this week, in 1989, the sitcom Seinfeld debuted on NBC. Thanks to Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, this show had a 9-year run. To celebrate all things Seinfeld, such as Festivus, The Man's Ear, and the Soup Nazi, Fish will host a Seinfeld marathon beginning at 1 p.m. this Saturday. Soup and muffin tops will be served. Admission is $10, with proceeds going to Fish's chapter of Droolers Anonymous from one of Fish's favorite episodes. Another is the one in which Kramer inadvertently makes Sister Roberta of the Latvian Orthodox Church fall for him because of his kavorka, the animal lure. He ends the attraction by bathing in vinegar and wearing rotting vegetables. Come on down this Saturday, and we will enjoy some serious Seinfeld.
And join us again next week for sports and other stuff. So long for now. Bye-bye.